Chiefs took that pot of gold from the San Francisco 49ers, but they didn't have to give up nothing. They came away with a couple of injuries. Where's it all at today? I'm Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We're brought to you today by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create your account, and use our code LOCKEDONNFL to get $20 off of your first purchase. It is the Monday fallout as we go through the Chiefs weekend. Yes, they got their win, and they are off on the lead for not only the AFC, but the whole NFL. But it came at a cost. We're going to go through that today. This is Chris Clark, the man over at Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy from NFL33.com and RGR Football. You can find us there. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell here on this channel, here for YouTube, and follow us over on Spotify and Apple Music for the audio side. Hit that link. Call us up at 816-357-8781. You're going to get on our loco line. It's where all our daily listeners go, and we love you guys. We appreciate that. We try to put out all breaking news and all the instant stuff right there on the text line first. You can get that super, super easy. Make sure that you make your next listen another Locked On show. Thanks for being first here on Locked On Chiefs, but there are plenty of shows to go around. Like, sub, hit that bell. Now, what do we need to cover today? Chiefs are 6-0, but do they still need some help? That question is coming up later in the show. Trades, acquisitions, whatever that entails. We're going to play fact or fiction on some of the takeaways from this ball game, go back and forth and give you our honest takes. But we start where we need to, in that we got a lot of updates on Monday. Andy Reid talked to the media and has since been confirmed it is a fracture for Jalen Watson. He is going to miss significant time. I won't say that it is season ending yet. I am treating it as though the postseason counts as the season. So while they may have to put him on IR and designate him for a late comeback, I think that's still in the cards unless we find out something in the subsequent days to make us feel like that's not in the cards. It's a big loss to lose Jaylen Watson, who was the next ascending player. And I wasn't sure he was going to get there, but I feel like he had solidly become the number 2 to Trent McDuffie and given them a 1-2 punch that maybe wasn't as good as McDuffie and Snead last year, but maybe the year before it was about that level, and I felt it had a lot more upside. Do you see it the same way?
No, I absolutely see it the same way. And I think that the big thing that stands out to me is you're in a situation now where you're going to have to go back to Najee Johnson. And Johnson, I think, has gotten better. He still struggles at times. He obviously got beat on a deep ball on a double move, so that really kind of hurt. But, going up against the 49ers in that situation, obviously you don't want to give up the deep ball. He did it. It's going to happen. But that was probably a best case scenario of when that type of play would happen, because it wasn't a scenario where it could hurt you and make you lose the game. So I'll take a little bit of solace there. The thing I'm wondering, and I think that what really stinks is ever since probably, and I don't know if it's week 2, week 3, week 4, somewhere in there, but to me, Jalen Watson almost became a top 20 corner in the NFL. He was playing that well. He was shutting people down. He was protecting his side of the field, and this is going to be a huge loss. And one of the things that Kansas City, and one of the reasons that Kansas City has been so good, is because they've been able to hold wide receivers to almost nothing most of the games that they played, and that's really helped their defense because they don't have a great pass rush. That's been a problem the entire season. It's going to continue to be a problem. Hopefully they can get Omenihu back, and maybe Mike Dana can give them a little bit more pass rush help a little bit. But at this point, you kind of have what you have at that point. I don't think they're going to make any trades, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I don't think they'll be making any acquisitions at the DN position, at least.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Cam Thomas getting 3 snaps in this game. Not what I wanted, but
don't understand it.
It's on the road, right? So, and if the pass rush can help the back end, you'll let that come along. And with Omenihu out there, you're going to get to that point. I will say this, though. I would go with Najee at this point. And I do feel like what you saw from CRW gives you another option if you have to. I like CRW in the slot more than anywhere else. He can go outside if he really had to, but I think they're comfortable there. But I'm not sure the staff sees it that way. Joshua Williams has not played up to my expectations, But I think because of the size dimensions and because of the length that he brings in the aggressiveness, there is a possibility that Dave Merritt and Steve Spagnuolo elect to go with him in replacement of Jalen Watson. We'll see what the week brings. Do you think that's a possibility?
I think it's possible. I'm going to be very curious to see how that plays out. Williams didn't really seem to have the ability to really take hold of that job in the offseason, which I was expecting him to do. He has the size. It looks like he has the ability, but he just hasn't put it all together yet. And maybe he's not going to. This is going into his third year. So you would expect that if he was going to put it together, it would have been this year. Jalen Watson certainly was looking that part. Although you have to start wondering about injuries with Jaylen Watson, considering he seems to have been injured every season he's been in Kansas City so far. But that's neither here nor there for the rest of this season. Hopefully he's able to come back in the playoffs. That'd be a huge addition down the road late. So we'll see how that plays out. Fractured ankle, that's tough though. I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with the defensive or at DB, because you're right. I think Chris Roland Wallace, however you want to say it, played really well. I thought he looked really good, and he played mostly in the slot from what I saw. I'm not going to say he didn't play outside, but I thought I saw him mostly in the slot. We'll see if that continues. But they obviously like him, and he got a pick. And I loved his quadruple or 5 feet that he got down on the interception near the sideline. Shows he's paying attention to details as a rookie, something you absolutely have to do. And, we haven't even really talked about JuJu, and I think that's a big loss that we're going to have to probably do a little bit more discussion on.
Yeah, we probably will. The bright spot about that dim spot in this week is that Andy doesn't feel that that's like super long term. So that does play into our topic coming up later in the show. Do they still need to add something? But for JuJu, will miss this week. He is not going to play now, but it shouldn't be forever with him. So I think it was probably a little short-sighted given his hamstring last week, but they got him in there and they decided to go for it, give it a test. Okay, at least they got him out pretty quick. You gotta heal him up. You gotta let him rest. And that honestly with a hamstring is the number one thing. So let's see what they do this week. There are some things that are both facts.
I was just going to say he'll have an extra day the next week because they play Monday night against the Bucs, so maybe that'll help.
Yeah, if you take this week off, you get that extended stay. That is a fact. There might be some fiction to some of this as well. We're going to play that game coming up next. Hey there, NFL fans. You can get started right now with a big return with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Takes the life out of your middle there. And so when you have that hunch in the middle of a ball game or in the middle of the day on a packed Sunday with a full slate, you can check the latest stats, check out the live play-by-play, and get that so deep into the game that you can make your decisions and go on the same page to place your bets. Makes life super simple. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's over at FanDuel. There's a lot of options there, especially when Patrick's throwing interceptions early or we're running the ball really good. You never know what's going to happen, but if you have a gut feeling, check it out at FanDuel.com. When you're hiring for a small business, you want to find the quality professionals with the right fit for the right role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. It has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team. I'm always looking at LinkedIn. It isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you find professionals you can't find anywhere else. Even those who aren't actively looking or searching for a new job might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get qualified candidates within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. It goes down the easiest way to post your job for free is on LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL. That's LinkedIn.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply. There are plenty of things that go into winning a ball game. Controlling yourself is one of them. The first one that I want to get your take on. If I told you that of the starting DBs in this game, or even let's expand it, all the guys that played significant snaps in the defensive backfield, the only guy not to get called for a penalty was one Brian Cook. Is that fact or fiction?
I'd say fact.
It absolutely is. And I think that's kind of weird considering you threw at least a slap if you don't want to call it a punch. For him to be the only one who went unpenalized in that defensive backfield made me a little bit surprised today when I saw that come out.
Him taking on Trent Williams, that was kind of interesting.
That part didn't surprise me because he ain't scared. I'll tell you that right now. He's got to be a little smarter, but he ain't scared. I think there are a lot of.
I wasn't expecting him not to get a penalty. Sorry, but I thought about that totally play specifically, and he didn't get one. But to have all the rest of the guys get one says a lot.
It does. And now it's discounting some of the rotation, right? Joshua Williams and Nazeeh Johnson, they didn't play the whole game, right? Jamari Connor was right on the edge there. He had 27 snaps in coverage versus 40 for the starters. So I discounted him there. Kudos to Jamari. He didn't get penalized either. But what stood out to you for some of the weirdness in this ball game?
Noah Gray just continues to do the little things. And fact or fiction, I guess, is I'll put it this way. One of the reasons the Chiefs haven't made a move at wide receiver is because of the emergence of Noah Gray on offense.
I like the word emergence. That's great. And I'm going to go fact with that because by demonstrating that you can shore up and help Travis be the leading receiver. I mean, honestly, he graded out as the leading receiver according to PFF as well. That's just crazy to me. But if you feel that your passing game can move through him as a backup to Travis, then so be it. You wait for Worthy to come around. I think that's fact. Do you agree?
No, I think it is. I think it is a fact. I don't know that it's going to continue to be a fact. I think you look at the injuries, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. I'm not sure it's going to stay a fact. I'll put it that way.
That's fair. Let me steal one right off of the back of your question then. Sky Moore can still contribute to this offense in some way that earns him a spot or at least playing snaps for the rest of the season. Fact or fiction?
Unfortunately, I think it's fact. The reality is they have not gone away from him so far this season, and I just don't see that they're going to go away from him unless, even if they go and bring somebody in, I don't think he's going to be the one that's going to be released. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he's a cheap guy that they trust to do certain things in their offense, and even if that doesn't count for catching passes, which it hasn't worked out for him so far this season.
Right. 24 snaps out wide yesterday against the 49ers. Another 7 inside at the slot, lined up in the backfield a couple of times. If nothing else, he will give you effort as a blocker. You can do that, especially with the volume of run that they're looking for. If somebody breaks outside the tackle box and you need a wide receiver to give you a block to cut off of, he might be valuable in that way. I agree with you. I think he continues to get snaps at this point. I think that's a fact as well.
Unfortunately, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that, but I think it's just reality at this point. Fact or fiction, the Chiefs' defensive line is going to continue to get better as the season goes on.
Improvement in technique, in functional football play, I agree, and I will call that fact. But in terms of statistical output, I'm going to call that fiction right now. I think it's going to be a desert until Omenihu returns.
Yeah, if you're talking pressures and you're talking about getting after the quarterback in sacks, I think you're probably right in that aspect. I'm trying to look at it more of a holistic view because the reality is while this team doesn't get a ton of sacks, they don't get a ton of pressure, their defense is still shutting teams down. And I understand the 49ers were banged up yesterday, but even when they had Ayuk, even when they had, Debo didn't play very much. And funny enough, found out that he's been in the hospital with pneumonia now. So that's why he missed the game. Yeah. So the 49ers struggled, and they struggled because this defense was very, very good. And while they may not be able to continue on the pass defense side, if they continue playing run defense the way they're playing run defense, this defense can easily take them to the Super Bowl because that is going to be very important when it gets cold outside and you have to be able to stop the run. This defense didn't have to step up and be able to show that during the playoffs. They're already showing they can stop the run. They went up against the number 2 rusher yesterday and held him under 60 yards.
Yeah, it's been impressive. And I'm going to steal one more and piggyback off of you one more time for my last point. Fact or fiction? There is only one 2027 starting linebacker on this roster right now, and his name's Leo Chenal.
Ooh. I don't know. I think
to be specific,
I want
to 3 more contract years, folks.
Yeah, I want to say 2027. I say fiction, mainly because I think they're going to try to find a way to keep Nick Bolton, because 2027 is only going to be 3 years away. I don't think Tranquil will still be here, obviously, but I think they're going to try to find a way to keep Nick Bolton, and I think that they plan on having him in the middle of the defense for at least the next 4 years.
Okay.
I don't know that I agree with it. He's been fantastic at times, but it depends on what he's coming. It depends on his contract demands. That's really what it's going to come down to. The reality is that I was hoping they were going to get a deal done with Trey Smith. If Trey Smith wants to be in Kansas City, he will make it happen. If he doesn't and he wants the money, then he's going to go get the money. And I'm not faulting the player for that at all. I want to be 100% clear on that. Go look what happened to Brandon Ayuk, who has a torn ACL, MCL. He held out. He got his payday, and I get it. So not faulting Trey at all. I'm just saying I was hoping he was going to stay. But with the amount of money that he can command on the free market, I don't know that he's going to continue to be in Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, around the league this week, and you guys will see this on NFL 33. I'll have a piece on it. Like, nothing is more like crushing to an organization than to have that scenario. For the player, it's good insurance, and he was smart to do it. For the franchise, it makes things a lot tougher when you spend that money and then you don't get the production out of the player for whatever reason. I'm a little concerned about Nick Bolton's injury history long term. That's why I brought it.
Oh no, I am too.
For Leo.
No, yeah. I 100% agree with you on that. I think that's a huge issue and definitely a concern. And I want to say this really quick on Leo Chenal. He has been fantastic. He is doing things I never expected him to be able to do this season. I thought he was going to be better than he was last year, but he has taken several steps forward this season. And to have a pass breakup right after he had, what was it, a stuff at the, I can't remember what it was, but he had back-to-back plays. One of them was a pass breakup on Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah.
I never would have seen him be able to do. That was phenomenal to see him be able to do that. He is vastly improved. And if he continues going that way, I hope Kansas City can keep him, but I don't know if they're going to be able to afford him if he keeps playing this way.
That's possible. I told Brian Baldinger today, it pays to draft athletes. He was in man coverage on a fullback in Juszczyk, and it was a shallow zone, but he was able to get out to the side to take on Kittle himself. I mean, this is beyond expectation for a third-round linebacker who didn't cover anyone in college. So cheers to him. That's a great step forward, but there are areas on this roster they could still use some help despite being 6-0. What are they, and what do they do coming up next? The atmosphere at Arrowhead is unique. There's nothing like it. Nowhere more in the world that you want to watch a ball game than right there from those seats. Finding those seats is always interesting. It makes it super easy to use Game Time. It's all in pricing, so you never get hit with anything strange. You don't get surprised at checkout. You get to see the view from every seat in the stadium, so you know exactly what that ball game is going to look like when you're sitting there. And they offer the lowest price guarantee. You find it cheaper somewhere else, they'll give you 110% of the difference right there on the spot. All you got to do is get the Game Time app. So go download it, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You'll get $20 off of your first purchase. Again, all you got to do is create an account and use the code. It's LOCKEDONNFL, and you get $20 off. Go down that Game Time app today. What time is it? Game time.
I have to throw a bonus one in for you. Fact or fiction? Mahomes should win the scepter for angry runs for his touchdown against Mustafa.
He should
Sorry,
win everything for that.
I couldn't resist. That was too fun. I still see pictures of that. It's all over X. Love it. It's fantastic. And I really quick, since we're getting ready to talk about, do they need help? I'm getting ready to put out something on Chiefs Corner. I'm going to go through the entire NFL. I'm going to look at different positions, different players that are going to be available. I'm going to break down the Chiefs cap, what they can do to open up some space. If you want specific players looked at for trades, I'm probably not going to be able to give you the trade compensation as to what they'd need to trade for a draft pick. But if you want to know the numbers, send me a message on X. I will get some of that stuff out. It'll be coming on Chiefs Corner this week and probably next week as well.
Awesome. That's great stuff because it comes into the whole value scenario at this point when we're approaching the trade deadline here in just a couple of weeks. So the trade deadline is part of this, but not the only part. There are other acquisitions you can make. So the question becomes is they've gotten to this point with a Hall of Fame quarterback that is playing like a second-year player, and that's working. Yes, he's magical, but his passing output is not what we expect from Patrick Mahomes. You can, whatever the reason, the left tackle blocking, the wide receivers, that is the fact of the level of how much he's putting in the offense. They've had to run more. But despite all those setbacks, they're 6-0 at this point. And we talk a lot of trades, and I'm sure we will in just a moment. But it dawns on me at this point that while we want more acquisitions and we want to replace what we've lost, right? We wanted to see Hollywood on the field. We want to see Rashee Rice on the field. We want to see Isaiah Pacheco battering down linebackers. We want that, and we want something to replace it. I don't think the team necessarily does. And if they can't get a guy that they want, that they feel brings something new to the offense, I don't think they're going to go out and spend just to spend. Do you?
It's hard. I disagree with your previous comment about him playing as a second-year QB. I don't think that that's the way I see him playing. I think what I'm seeing from him is he's doing enough to help them win, and he doesn't really care how it looks. Have some of the interceptions been bad? Yeah, they've been horrible. He didn't have those plays against the 49ers. He did enough to make them win. It's not going to be pretty because he's not putting up the numbers. He's not putting up the passing yards. He's not putting up the touchdowns. But I don't know that I really care about that near as much because if you look at how they're winning in a way that they've never won before. And I think that when you get back to a situation where maybe you get Brown back for the playoffs and the Super Bowl run, you're going to get Pacheco back probably in the next couple of weeks. This is going into week 8. They're getting ready to head into week 8. The original timeline was 6 weeks. He went out in week 2. So I'm not saying he's back this week. He may not be back for the Bucks game. Right. I would think he could be back for the Buffalo game. Maybe that's still too early, but bringing him back gives them another dimension on their running, on their ability to rush. And they went, 37 rushes for almost 170 yards. Now, I know that's not explosive. You're not getting a bunch of long runs, but this is a way this team has never won before. And how valuable is that to head into the offseason, be able to head into the postseason, knowing that you have both Hunt and Pacheco hopefully healthy going into that stretch run. You have that running game when it gets colder and it's harder to throw the ball. You already have a running game. You already have a running offense you can lean on. And Mahomes is doing enough, whether it's with his legs or with his arm, because don't forget, he had a great throw to Noah Gray that only Noah Gray could catch at that point. He threw it down and away, and Noah went down and got it. Those are the types of plays that are going to be overlooked, but they are important, and that is what is getting them to win.
Yeah. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. Run as many times as you got to. It doesn't have to be chunks. It doesn't have to be long. I enjoy the physicality of watching a team that wants to be physical with you and the 49ers not be able to.
Yeah. Well, and Kansas City being able to run over teams is something that I was not expecting. So to me, having that ability is great. And I know that there's going to be people that are going to be upset about Pacheco and Hunt trying to figure out what they're going to do in the backfield. I'm not worried about it. I think it's a great problem for the Chiefs to have. And maybe they start using Pacheco more in the passing game. Maybe they start using Hunt more in the passing game and let Pacheco run. You're going to have the ability to do both. That's fantastic. And that doesn't even get into Leo Chenal playing at the fullback role, which we loved seeing and haven't seen in the past couple weeks.
They're holding it now. They're holding it. I was just going to bring up that fact too. When you look at like grades, and again, you don't have to look at grades at PFF because PFF A isn't what it used to be. And I've always told you, don't look at their grades. But if you just want a marker, Noah Gray had a day, right? Easily the top target, right? Kareem Hunt came in second in that contest. Kareem Hunt can still split out. Does he have that top gear? No, but he's not washed. I had somebody on RGR tell me last night that I called him washed a few weeks ago. And I said, no, he's just not an explosive back anymore. He's not going to run away from people. Doesn't mean he can't make catches and make yards. So it makes him even more interchangeable with Pacheco when they're both in the backfield. I'm really looking for some interesting stuff. Maybe a 4-man backfield where they split out and you're left with Chenal and Steele in the back. I mean, there's all kinds of things you can do.
Okay, now you're getting a little over. You're going a little over your skis on that one, but I get what you're saying. It is exciting to think about what they can do. I still like what Steele has brought. I think you've seen over the past couple of weeks he has really worked on his ball handling and being able to make sure that it was close and up to the chest and not going to be fumbling the ball. That's been great to see. So getting his fumbles out of the way early is something that I think will benefit them down the stretch. And then, they haven't done anything with Chenal other than line him up. At some point, you have to think that they have a play where he's going to get the ball in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's as a runner or as a pass catcher, you would have to think that they're going to get him the ball somehow. So that's going to be fun. But the reality is you look at this team and you look at how they're built right now. Do they need to go out and make a move? And this is what we really talk about. Yes, I think they do. I will admit, and I have said this on X, I'll say it right now, I think that they should have signed MVS. I know that there are people out there that are going to hate that, and that's fine. To me, he raised the floor of what they have at receiver, and it gives you a chance to be a little bit more protected if something happens with JuJu that lasts past this week or happens later in the season. Because MVS would at least give you another guy that knows the system and can step in and play. I'm not going to say he's going to be great, but play if MVS was something as well, and they could have used that down the road in the playoffs. But I do think that they need to make a move. I think that they need to try to find something at wide receiver, because the other reality that you're going to have a problem with right now is when people are going to get to a point where they know you're going to run, they're going to be stacking the box even more. You don't have players right now that are great at separation in man coverage, and that could be a problem come playoff time.
I agree with you. I disagree with you. I would not have signed MVS myself. You have a good point. He does know the offense, and I do think he would have produced a couple of big plays. I think he would have produced a couple of big letdowns as well, and I see it as a wash. Spending the money on that didn't really appeal to me. I would rather see guys that I know can separate against NFL coverage in Washington and Remigio come up. Those of you that are screaming for the jump ball to come back in the offense, if they elect to do that, yes, bring Justin Ross up to the roster. You have options on your own practice squad as well that can help you in those ways. I do feel, and I will say it out loud, that I think they trust Jody Forts in a jump ball situation more than they trust Justin Ross. So I don't know that that's what's going to happen. But that's another reason why the Chiefs may hold off here.
It's not just that specific thing. It's not just jump balls. You have to know the entire offense. It's the entire picture. It goes beyond just that one specific play type, which Ross shown he has the ability to do. But can he step in and they can trust that he runs the offense and he's running the right routes and making the blocks for 30 or 40 snaps a game? We haven't seen it yet to this point. I think that's the problem, and that's the reason he's not up. So to me, I get what you're saying. My whole thing on MVS was, I don't know if they lose JuJu or they lose Worthy. Are you really going to trust that Sky Moore is going to go out there and get catches? That's my problem. And maybe Remigio and Washington can do it, but I think that's asking a lot. And I think they would have already made those moves if they thought that they had the ability to do that. So to me, they need to go out and they need to make an addition at some point. My perfect one would be Deontay Johnson. They're going to have to make a salary cap move to make that happen, but that's the one I would go for. And it's possible if they did that, they could give him an extension for another couple of years. That would be something to watch as well.
Yeah, I know there was a little hiccup too in practice last week, a little pull of some kind, something like that. It doesn't seem like it's going to be serious. So I think that's probably my preference as well. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's probably my preference as well. Christian Kirk, I don't want the contract that's attached to him. Adam Thielen, I don't think helps you in any way that Justin Watson doesn't. D-Hop, again, if you're not going to throw a jump ball, I don't know that D-Hop has a lot to bring. I would say Slayton of the popular guys is probably next, but for me, it's really down to Johnson or bust.
What about Jalen Hyatt?
I mean, for a hamburger, sure. If that's
Right.
what we're talking, because quite frankly, he has the same issue that Xavier has. He's got all the talent and the speed, but doesn't have the experience to actually use it correctly in this offense, other than doubling what X can do and just send it down the field. So
Well,
I have trouble seeing that lift anything.
yeah, I don't know that it would lift it much, but I do think that having an additional guy, because I'm worried about Xavier Worthy staying healthy over the next couple of weeks, considering what we saw on Sunday. Yes, he was able to come back in the game, but I think you have to worry about his ability to stay healthy, knowing that it's not necessarily can he stay healthy with playing 20 or 30 snaps. It's his role has to continue to increase. He has to continue to play 40, 50, 60 snaps a game. Can he stay healthy doing that in the NFL, taking some of the hits that he's going to take? That I think is a concern.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. What do you guys think? What do you want to see done about the wide receiver position, maybe the DB position, anything else? Where are you right now on a Monday where the Chiefs are the only team undefeated left in this league and are burning their way towards the Raiders and the Bucks? And it's all on right now. We want your opinion. Thanks for being with us. Make sure you like and sub and hit the bell and go to KC Chiefs Corner. Come over to NFL 33. Go to RGR Football. We got it all for you, and it's all the time. You can get it in the text line as well at 816-357-8781. Thanks for being with us today. Matt Derrick joins me tomorrow, and then we get to talking ball. Have a good day, and we'll talk to you then.